Live. We are live today in Black America. My name is Tanisha Mercer, and I'm joined by my co-host,
JG, what's up,
J.
everybody? How y'all doing?
Hey, JG. How
Hey,
are you
Tanisha.
today?
I'm
How?
doing good. Have to do a repeat of a route that I was supposed to do yesterday. Um, Logistical issues on a third party's part, but it is what it is. Keep it moving. No need for complaining, right?
Right, right. So, where are you? Are you in? Are you out? Are you in Georgia? Are you in the South? Where are you?
I'm in the South Carolina. I'm going to North Carolina. Two spots in North Carolina. One is High Point, and the other is Greenville, and then back home. I'm gonna try to make it a one day. So if I have to stop for a couple hours, take a little nap, I'll do that. You know.
Okay. Nice, 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 nice. So, with you being on the road, what types of things? I feel like you're ground central. You
hmm
go through different states, you go through different areas. Like, what is the general reaction that you're seeing? Are you seeing anything different than you saw maybe 2 3 months ago with people, in terms of people?
I haven't had somebody come out to me. Like I said, I am a bigger statured guy, so nobody came up to me. Yeah, Donald Trump, man, or
Right.
fuck, man. I haven't had those reactions or interactions, and if I did, I'm sure it's not going to be one singular person. It's probably going to be like a plural of people.
Right.
Um, so as far as like the Trumpism, I haven't seen it, but I've seen it on gas pumps where they have FJB, which means fuck Joe Biden. I have seen
Mm.
stickers. I've seen engravements of it. I've often seen a lot of Trump supporters and their conditions of living because my routes sometimes takes me to back countries. And to be honest with you, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how you voting Republican and you're living like less than a migrant would be living.
Wait a minute though. Go back. Go back. What type of
What's
conditions
up?
are they? What type of conditions are they living
Man,
in?
I've seen some trailer homes that just needs to be like fumigated from the out from you know what I'm saying? Like they it's dilapidated. It's the best way. You see, you know
Wow.
how you're from Detroit, so you know how your city went down and all the buildings was like all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of that.
So we're talking backwoods, Bama.
Backwoods, Bama, Georgia, South Carolina, parts of North Carolina, um, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana. If you talking about backwoods, I've seen it. I've seen Trump signs, and a lot of them signs is in people that's probably making $200 a month.
And that's crazy to me because those are the people that he does not care about. Those are the people that they are voting against their own best self, their best self interest.
Because they aspire to be rich with lack of education and resources that the DEI initiative allowed them to get access to. Because when you're in a low income area, your schooling is not going to be the same as inner city or even in the suburbs of the inner city.
Right.
So in their mind, they feel like they're highly educated, okay? But in all reality, they're undereducated, underfunded, and under resourced.
Most don't complete high school, right?
Nope,
And
nope.
forget about college, right?
Yes, but somehow they're going to be a billionaire by those kind of things. If like there's towns I pass through, and you like how these people have jobs because you don't see any factories, you barely see any stores. If they see stores, they're mom and pops. So it's like, how are you working if you're not a truck driver? And that's their number one go to. They get their CDLs, which is nothing wrong with that. You'll see people with their CDLs, and then you see people without no CDLs. You'll see a big ass truck in front of the yard, and you see this little barn door for a house.
Interesting. That's always amazing to me. Like, it's always amazing how the policies that his party and this man specifically
hmm
talk about do not benefit them at all. But yet they are all on the cult of whiteness, right?
Yes, because if you're white, you're right. That's what they believe in. So they look. This is the ironic thing is you see a lot of these urgent care facilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And urgent care facilities, if you have what the quote unquote Obamacare, which is the Affordable Care Act, right? If you
Right.
have that medical plan, they voted against that medical plan because the Republicans labeled it the Obamacare, so they could not want to get it. But they were like, yeah, we want we already heard the conversations of, yeah, they want the Affordable Care Act, which they don't know is the Obamacare.
That's
So that's the only way they can get these health care because ain't nobody paying for like your insurance company don't want to cover somebody with pre-existing diabetes and all this other stuff.
right. Well, he is everything is getting ready to roll back, right? That's the question. Will because it used to be like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, before Obama came into office, before the Affordable Health Care Act came about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Insurance companies did not have to cover by law pre-existing conditions. So you would
Correct.
have people who would be on a healthcare plan, for example, through their employer, and they would give you a window of time where they would not cover a pre-existing condition. So you could have diabetes, you can have whatever,
Mm-hmm.
heart disease, you would need a transplant, whatever you would have going on,
And they're not covering it.
and they would not cover it. And then with the affordable health care plan and some of the laws that President Obama put into place, he
Mm-hmm.
ended that. So now we're looking at who's in office only cares about the oligarchy, the tech bros, and Putin, right?
Yep.
So he does not care about affordable health care insurance. He does not care about um, what happened to the United Healthcare CEO. He was
No, he cares about them.
tossed.
No, he cares about that part because that's probably one of his boys or whatever. He cares about that person per se. But no, he don't care about nobody but himself and how they can benefit him. So if that United Healthcare CEO said, "Hey, the Trump family gets free medical care," he cares about him then.
Yeah, and but that's the thing. From the president to the politicians in Congress, they have some of the best healthcare in the country.
Trump's doctors right now, because when you're the president of the United States of America, your doctors is the U.S. Navy doctors.
Yep, yep. The best healthcare in the like the best healthcare in the country. They have access
Correct,
to the best,
and it's free.
and it's free.
Paid for by United States government, DOD, U.S. taxpayers inside the DOD and outside the DOD. Because if you don't get it twisted, military still pay taxes in the state that they're from. Because when I was in the military, let's say specific branch, and I did mention it before the branch, so you got to go back and watch that episode. I was paying taxes in the state of North Connecticut when I was stationed in North Carolina.
Wait a minute, you pay so hold on. So you pay taxes in your
Home
home
state.
state
Yes, yes.
and you pay taxes. So if you are stationed in, let's say, Georgia, you
Uh
pay
huh.
taxes there too? Or how does that work?
No, no. So your state of record is where you pay taxes at. So if you update your state of record, because I was in my first 4 years, it's like just say that was my rookie scale contract. So
Okay.
that was my home of record, which was Connecticut. Now, if I had re-enlisted in that branch, then I would have updated because maybe at some point I might have said, "Hey, this I don't want Connecticut to be my home record no more. I'm gonna use my brother's address, and he lives in Georgia, and this is the address, XYZ." Then that would change. Can you change it while you're in? You should be able to change it while you're in. You know what I'm saying? But I was still paying Connecticut taxes, and I didn't get nothing back at the end of the year for state taxes.
Wow.
So,
Wow. What's also surprising to me is the amount, and this is probably a broader issue, and you may know this or you may not, but
hmm
the amount of military who are qualify for federal assistance.
Ooh, sorry.
They qualify for food stamp assistance. There, a lot of military people are not doing very well financially.
Well, if you're talking about active duty military, they don't get food stamps. I'm not going to
Okay.
speak on what they get because I
Okay.
don't want that to be threatened. You get what I'm
Okay.
saying? I don't want somebody to come across this podcast and look at, oh, they're getting this, why they get this, and cut it. So I want to respect that part right there. Okay,
Okay.
we could talk offline and I explain to you what they get, but it's something that I believe that that should be kept quiet in terms of that's what they earned when they have a family. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that helps them take care of their family, and especially in these times.
Right. Right. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we'll talk about that one offline.
All right.
Talk about that one offline. Let's change the subject then. Let's to what our boy in the White House, and I say our boy, facetiously, but what he's doing today. Um, John, you mentioned. I'm sorry, Jay. You mentioned. Jay, you mentioned something during our meeting about this particular podcast. You mentioned something about a lot of money is missing out of the
Yes, I
budget.
did. Yes, I did. So as we're not really just let's make this clear. We're not regurgitating the news. We're just breaking the news down to where it's more hip for people, our audience, to listen to. So if you check out the news, Donald Trump administration stole $89 million from the state of New York. And right now they are negative $79,000 overdrawn, and they got hit with a $15,000 overdraft fee.
What?
$15,000 overdraft fee. They got the $15,000 back from Chase Bank, and they're seeking to get back their money that was legally allocated to them from the Biden administration, signed by, from Congress, signed by Joe Biden and his administration. That money was allocated to FEMA. So FEMA, in that part, only in that part, to help the migrants get where they need to get going. So Trump sees that they're staying at the Roosevelt Hotel, which is traditionally a luxury hotel. But if I'm a hotel manager or CEO or whatever, and I'm getting millions of dollars to host migrants at $12.50 per night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus a half a filling of my hotel, I'm gonna take from the city of New York to host these people for X amount of days at $12.50 per night. That covers my staff, that covers my bills, my light bill, my city taxes, my state taxes. That the federal government is saying, hey, you're doing a good cause, but this is the business of doing that cause, and the state government is saying that, so it's a whole trickle down effect. And Donald Trump says, well, because you're housing migrants and not my rich buddies, we're going to take this money from you. That was justly given to them.
I, I can't imagine an overdraft fee like that, first of all, number one. But
Shoot.
I mean, so some of the money was returned.
Some of what was what?
So did they get some of the money back, or
$15,000 was erased of overdraft.
that's
And this is the crazy part. That money was in their account for months. It wasn't just transferred and they yanked it back. That money has been in their account, and it has been used properly.
mm,
Excuse me. There was no misuse of the money or the funds, as they stated. They made sure they showed where all transactions and what it went to and what it was for. Because if you misuse federal money, the person that's misusing it, number one, is going to face 5 to 20 years in prison, okay? And a
oh
restitution
wow,
fine, which they know they can't pay that shit off because they ain't got the money.
oh wow. So how are they able to do that legally? Because we talked the other day, and I'll make sure that I put a link in this description in the caption of yesterday's broadcast. But I
Okay.
think we talked about it either yesterday or the day before, where we talked about how you've got the Doge or whatever under Elon
Yes.
Musk, and how access to sensitive information. He's looking to bring his people in access to social security numbers, payment information, identity, all of that stuff that he will now have, him and his cronies will now have access to.
Yes. So with the whole how they were able to take that money was through a legal, I don't want to say legal, legal illegal process of, hey, this is the federal government and this is our money. That's how they was able to get that money. Basically telling them, just like doing as a big ass ACH debit.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Just think about your co-signer, your because they're the federal government. Okay, the feds could go in and just take your money if you owe them money, right? They can go and garnish your wages and stuff like that. So let's
Right.
just say that's the action that they took in this situation to justify their actions, which was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
They stole money from the state of New York. So now this is the tactical part that you got to look at also. If I took money that was paying for migrants to stay in a hotel, what's that's going to do to the hotel? The hotel is not going to sit here and wait for the money to come through next month. They're going to tell the migrants to go. So how does that help ICE? ICE agents is going to basically be sitting at that hotel waiting for whoever gets to get kicked out to start, locking them up.
That's insane. Well, we know they're already waiting, right? They are going to employers, they're going to schools, they're going to apartment buildings. They are picking people up.
Yes. Yes, they are. And it's sad because the people that's really and truly going through all of this stuff is the American public, because now you're like, you got some people who are legal,
Right.
who immigrated here legally, who became citizens. They might not, show up in a register like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like some of them get swept up. If you look a certain way, you get swept up.
Right.
If you
Right.
look too African, you're going to get swept up. Or if you look too Haitian, whatever those things mean, you're going to get swept up. If you look too let's just say ethnic, or that would be preference to, if you look too Mexican or too Latino, you're going to
Right.
be pulled up. So now Puerto Ricans who can easily fall into that category of being swept up.
And they're in the US territory,
And
right?
they're U.S. citizens. They're
US
lawfully U.S.
citizens.
citizens.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And some of them voted for Donald Trump. Dominicans, who easily look black. I'm not
Yeah.
black, I'm Dominican. Now they're going to get swept up.
Yeah. Everyone is about to find out. We're in
They
the Yeah.
fuck around and find out phase, right?
We're in the find out. We're in the find out. They fucked around.
Yes.
Now they finding out. They're
Now they
finding
finding out. And it's not even been a 1 month yet since this man took office.
I can't believe this has been the longest month. I mean, January is already a long ass month, but this has been the
Yes.
longest, like you said, hasn't even been a month yet. Next week will be a month, right?
Yes.
A
Yes.
week from a week from today, right?
A week from today, yes.
It will be, because when did he take office on MLK Day on the 20th,
Yes,
right?
he did, yes.
So we've got less than a week. It'll be 1 month, and already all of these things have happened in the first month.
Yes. So Trump taking that $89 million, Tanisha, reminds me of when Saddam Hussein took the Bank of Iraq, or Central Bank of Iraq, money, a big withdrawal. He basically used that bank as his own personal account. He took the country's money to withdraw it to try to disappear somewhere.
Really?
Yes. That's what this action reminds me of. Nobody's going to really care about it because it's Trump. It's Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they're smart. They're not smart.
Right.
They're not smart. They're savvy investors. But when it comes to business, Donald Trump is not a great businessman.
Please say it louder. Please say it louder for the ones in the back, because
He is
people always
not
say this.
a great businessman. I felt under the illusion when I was younger that he was a great businessman. But then when it was brought to my attention, everything he touches fails. A great businessman don't, I'm not going to say they don't fail, but they learn their lessons over time.
And they have a
He
track
doesn't
record.
learn his lesson, and they have a track record.
And it didn't help. When your dad gave you like a $40 million loan or whatever.
Now,
So
let this sink in. If Donald Trump was such a great businessman, why wasn't he on the Shark Tank before he became president?
yeah, I mean it's a part of, but that's the thing. It's a part of his his public relations that he's a great president, right? I mean a great
Yeah,
business person.
correct. Remember, Mark Cuban is a billionaire on the Shark Tank. Everybody else is high millions. They high earners. They're
Right.
not 10 million, 15 million. These people have net worths of almost a half a billion or a little bit over a half a billion or close to a half a billion. That's on
Mm-hmm.
the Shark Tank. And
Mm-hmm.
the one billionaire on the show is Mark Cuban. If he's the one, because I'm sure the others, I no disrespect to them, but I didn't look up their net worths. But let's just say for high stakes and compliments that all these people on the Shark Tank are billionaires, right?
Okay.
What think about it. Shark Tank been around since like 2011 or something like that. Why wasn't he invited to be even a host on the Shark Tank?
Good
Or
question. What?
even a guest star, you know what I'm saying? Kevin Hart was on there, was on the Shark Tank. And it's no disrespect to Kevin Hart. When I watched this episode, Kevin Hart broke down things that I learned in business, when I was in college. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, this man was regurgitating things that you don't only people of high levels know. Like my brother could attest to that when Kevin Hart was like, "Hey, I could give you this GPD and this percentage and this and by year 10 you'd be out of debt with me." I'm like, I would have took that Kevin Hart deal. They looked at, oh, it's Kevin Hart. He don't know business. If you know it, you'll know the what he was saying. But that's all I'm saying. But let's. All right, sorry, sorry,
I mean,
but
it's
I'm
all
just
an illusion. It's an illusion that he's
yes,
because what Trump University, right,
failed,
failed. He's got
and
a
he got
long
sued.
he's got a long list of business failures and
The
bankruptcy.
USFL, the Taj Mahal, those casinos.
Uh, Everything has not done well. And I'm not saying, look, I mean, if anybody knows about bankruptcy, it's Trump, right? Because
Right.
he has a track record of using the legal means of bankruptcy, right? And
Yes. To
I'm not
not pay
necessarily
nobody.
to not pay. I'm not necessarily criticizing that part, but what I am criticizing is that because it is a legal remedy, right? Available under the law.
Yes.
But he's also has a pattern of not paying people, not paying small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he has a pattern of purposely not paying these vendors and basically in court like sue me. And he knows that a small business can't afford it.
No. And he has a habit of not paying lawyers sometimes too.
That too. How do you not pay
Like,
your attorney? If one person's got to be paid beyond the government, it's the attorney. How does he?
yes.
It's like how does he get away with it?
Well, now they make him pay. Like, no, you got to pay. That's like to defend himself of
Yeah,
all those lawsuits and cases he had from 2020 to 2024. A lot of them made him pay up front.
a retainer, right?
The retainer. But what Trump did was to pay was he had his MAGA cultists, donate to whatever it is that they donated to, and that's how he paid them.
Right,
He didn't
right.
pay him out of pocket.
That's insane.
Yes, crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So what else we got on the docket, Miss Tanisha?
We a few more things. I mean, we're gonna maybe another 5-10 minutes on this one, and but we are some sad news out of Detroit, out of my
Oh,
hometown.
all
There
right.
were two children unfortunately froze to death in Detroit. A
Ooh.
family was unhoused in a van, and they were sleeping in the van.
Mm.
The, and unfortunately, these two children, I'm looking now to get their names. This happened a few days ago, and the mother wasn't in the van, but the grandmother
Mm-hmm.
was. They were in a van I think in the hospital parking lot. Um, and I may have that part wrong, but the children were 2 and 9 years old,
Oh man.
and now um, the community is trying to come together to the city of Detroit is paying for their funeral with the
Mm-hmm.
new McFall brothers funeral home. They're preparing for the burial of the two children. And the bad thing about it is, it's heartbreaking to see it. Like in the video that I saw, the grandmother um was in the van with the children, and she said that was the one time she fell asleep, and she woke up to her grandchildren not moving. And they were discovered on Monday morning. And the unfortunate part about it is, it's like, where is the community? Where is the village? Homelessness is a problem. This is only going to get worse. It's cold in Detroit, it's freezing temperatures. Anybody from Detroit knows that February is one of the coldest months of the year, right? I'm
Yes.
sorry, they were actually found, and let me correct myself. They were found dead in a van at a casino. And it's just really, really rough. It did not help the fact that the father of two of the three, or two of the children, basically said he had to work and he could not watch the kids. The mother of the children said she asked for help. He said he had to work. He said he was at the gym. So it's a lot. It's a total failure. If you think about it, because literally the grandmother and the grandchildren and the mother are all living in the car. So you have an entire family that's homeless. And my only
So
is this is going to happen more.
I believe it's going to happen more. Sadly, yes. Now, is the mother and the father together, or are they separate?
No, they're separated. He lives about an hour outside of the city of Detroit, and he said he had to work and he couldn't watch his kids. The mother said she asked for help. The mother said that he last saw his children 3 months ago. There's some dispute over that. He says a month or two. Clearly, he didn't know or didn't care about how his children were doing. So he didn't. I don't know. I don't know how, as a parent. I mean, I'm a parent. You're a parent.
Ye- Yes.
So it's like, if my children are cold, how can I be somewhere warm and cozy? They're my children. They're your. I mean, 2 years old,
Two
right?
and nine. Two
Two
and
and
nine.
nine.
Yes.
So you literally have a toddler and a 9 year old, and it's really tearing the city up, because right now a lot of people are in dangerous situations. They are in perhaps homes that may not have heat, may not have, what they need, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it's sad. Like, it's sad. I don't know, like, if she was afraid to get help from maybe like shelters. I
Um,
don't know.
I think the fear of is when you don't have a roof over your head,
They can take those
that
kids
they
away.
could take the children away.
Yes, they can.
And you doing a disservice to your kids if you can't provide that roof over their head. And unfortunately, unfortunately, this is what happens when you're being stubborn or just ignorant. I don't want to come off insensitive, but I want to come off as logical as I can. It's illogical to think that you can provide for your children and you're in a car or give them the best situation. Let's say you are
But
providing food,
But so
clothes,
many people, so many people live in their cars. In the state of
it's,
California, it's a lot of people.
but there in Southern California was a lot warmer than Detroit.
This is true. You're right. You're right about
Okay,
that. You're
they're
right.
a lot warmer than Detroit. I'm not saying one is better than the other. All I want to say is that sometimes it's okay to ask for help, and sometimes a child will have to understand, man, we were in a car, but now, and I'm not saying these because trust, believe me, those damn group homes, wherever the kids would go to, foster care, is not the best situation for a child sometimes.
They're not. They're
They're
not.
not.
They're
Because the
not.
9-year-old would have suffered more than the 2-year-old would have.
Exactly.
So it's like, what okay, the baby father, does he have a mother? Because that's her grandkids too.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The thing about it is, in during his interview, he claimed that he did not know. He claimed that his family lives around the corner from her and she could have just reached out. And also, allegedly, there's a GoFundMe started by the sister. And I just mentioned how all of the expenses are being covered by the city of Detroit and the new McFall Funeral Home. So
Yes.
it's a lot of things. It's like, how can you, if this is true, again allegedly, how can you do a GoFundMe now when you were the family members? Where is the village?
The
How,
village abandoned those children.
yeah, she clearly
And
needed help. That whole family needed help.
and you know what happened? When the village abandoned those children, God said, let me take my kids back. They're better with me. Unfortunately. Because here on earth they were being mistreated. That's what the Most High did. He called back the innocent. Because those kids didn't ask to be here.
No,
Just as much
no.
as you stuck your thing up in that woman, you know what I'm saying? Those kids did not ask to be here. And if she could have just called your family, why didn't you just call the family and say, hey, such and such is having a hard time. Can my kids stay with you so that way she can go and do what she needs to do to get herself together?
Well,
Because one thing about my family, I'm going to tell y'all this. One thing my grandmother did, she took us, me and my brothers, out of a bad situation
mhm.
and when she made us go and stay where we could be safe and cared for. You know what I'm saying?
And God bless
So,
your mother.
and
God bless.
God bless her I bless her for that. She had some ways about her, but that was the one thing. Family is always first. So the family, that village, failed those children.
And that's what I don't get, because even though the parents are separated, that has nothing to do with the fact that you still have these children, right? And
Correct.
like you said, if we aren't together, you as a father take these children, let me get myself together. You take them for right now. I'm coming back to get them. Right? Why wasn't that part of the conversation? I just saw a blame game going on, right?
Hmm.
But the bottom line is these kids are now no longer here. I can't understand why. Again, he said he was at the gym working out when she called. And I'm like, your kids are living in a van in the freezing cold. You're at the
Now,
gym.
what if he did not know they were in the van though?
He
Let's
claims
be
he
clear.
does not know. He claims he did not
And
know
you gotta
anything.
take his word just like you gonna take the woman's word.
Well,
What
here's
if
the
he didn't
thing.
know?
But here's the thing. If you had seen your children, if you had seen your children, regular visits with your children, you would know. Now the 2-year-old can't communicate, but that 9-year-old can.
Correct.
He
Now
said
I
he
want
said
now,
it was through. Hmm?
Tanisha. Let's. I'm gonna tell you some stuff offline. Why I'm going to defend the father. Okay. I'm gonna tell you stuff offline. But right now, you have to take the father's word because
No,
sometimes I'll
no.
tell you offline. No, no, I'll tell you
Okay.
offline. I'll tell you offline. And you and I are friends, and you have to understand sometimes things happen to where you might. I don't want you to see it my way, but I'll just tell you offline. Okay.
We'll talk offline. Yeah, we'll talk
Okay.
offline. But the problem I have is that even if it was a custody agreement, if a custody fight, all of that situation, where is where is all that paperwork?
I
Because we
can't
can.
defend that part because
There's a
we don't
paper trail.
know. There's a paper trail, but we don't know that paper trail.
We don't know the paper trail, but it would be easily discoverable.
Correct. But the end result is two children, two innocent souls are gone.
Right. Either way it goes, two children are now no longer here.
Yes.
And so it does make you wonder. The community is coming together now, but I know for a fact there are many people in similar situations, bad situations.
Yes.
There really are, and there are a lot of them, and people are hurting. People are hurting in Detroit. They really are.
So now what they're going to start doing when they see people in the car overnight, they're going to start being more helpful or insightful to help, or they're going to still go about their business till the next one happen.
Well, I will tell you this. At the end of the year, there was a story out of Detroit about two teenagers that were
Hmm.
sleeping on the front porch of their home.
I remember seeing that one.
Exactly. Now, in that instance, the neighbors began reporting back in the summertime when they saw these kids on the porch.
Hmm.
No one did anything. CPS, they called CPS. Nobody did anything. It wasn't until it got cold and the news cameras arrived. These parents were, and again, a lot of this is all, and I have to be careful because I believe it's an active investigation. So this is, I'm citing multiple media reports here.
Okay.
The parents, were members of a certain church in Detroit, right? And it was
Right.
thought that there were some discipline issues. Is kind of what it was alluded to. But again, we ask all the time, where is the community? In this case, the community was saying, "Hey, help! Why are these kids on this porch?
Yes.
This is not normal." And nothing happened. Nothing happened. No one did anything until the news cameras started rolling.
Number one, those kids was the wrong skin color to get the help. I think race played a factor in that situation because that same story, those parents claimed that those kids decided to sleep on the porch
Exactly.
when they said that was the total opposite. One of them will go to work, come home, or go to school, come home, and they're on the porch. And I remember seeing that story as well, and I was like, "That's crazy." But I didn't pay any more attention after that because the whole situation and circumstances just sounded very illogical to me, whether on the state side, the parent side, or the children's side. And I felt for those kids because I can't imagine the torment or what they were going through. If it was the parents pushing that on them, like, no, y'all can't come in the house, XYD. Now I can understand if those kids was robbed, stealing from you, or they were doing things against, and this is how you want to punish them. If you want to be in the streets, there you go. But you ain't gonna go too far. And I'm not saying it's right. I can understand if they were coming from that logic, but they didn't seem like bad kids.
It's, to me, it's the way you go about it, because there are things legally you can't do as a parent. As a parent, you are supposed to provide shelter, a roof and a shelter for your children and food, right? If
Yes.
children are acting up, there are ways you go about it. Even if you have to report your own children, right? Like sleeping on the porch in the cold is unacceptable. We wouldn't do animals that way. You would get taken to jail if you left your dog outside in the freezing cold. They would arrest you.
Yes.
So even if your kids were acting up, there are other it's like there are other things you can do besides that. You may have to involve the authorities, you may have to involve social services, you may have to do whatever, but it's like certain things are just unacceptable.
Yes. Yes.
So
And it's sad. It's tragically sad on both ends, on
it
the
really
two,
is.
so on both children, on both set of children. It is sad. It is sad, and so I applaud the community for stepping up for the first two kids. Ain't no telling, maybe this person was hiding the homelessness, and it caught up to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe this person was outwardly homeless and nobody paid attention to it. So it is a sad situation, sad story overall. Now, should they have like even shelters? I know some people like, why didn't y'all go to a shelter? Because shelters aren't the safest.
They're not.
They're not the safest. And even if she went to a shelter, she still got to leave in the morning. Those kids, but yes, they would have been a little bit better. But come the evening time, you know what I'm saying? It would have been harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's like you said, the bottom line is two children are gone and we cannot get them back.
No, no, the Most High called them back.
We cannot get them back. So it's unfortunate. It's just like this should have never happened. Should have never happened.
So shout out to the community that's actually trying to right their wrong by helping his family through this tough
Yeah.
time. Um, that is, but to the father, I don't know what your situation is or what it was with the children. Um, I could kind of, if it's the way that I'm thinking is, I could understand. If it's the way that you just totally ignore them, I can't understand.
For me, I can't understand either way. Either way,
I'll
I can't.
explain it, but like I said, I'll explain to you.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to talk offline. But and with that note, anything else we want to talk about today? What's going on in Black America? Anything else, or do you want to?
Yes, Tennessee
Yeah.
lawmakers. There's some 12 lawmakers in Tennessee have walked out on their meeting because the governor was pushing some frivolous lies. I didn't really get into all the facts, but if you watch this YouTuber, his name is Tennessee Brando. He's very very articulate and very to the point and very direct on what he's speaks on. And he's a Democrat, and he looks like he's part of the MAGA movement, but he's not. He's not an agent of the MAGA movement. He's actually a person who's a living, breathing Southern white man who's an actual Democrat and supports the Democratic Party. And he could give you the best information on what's going on in Tennessee and their lawmakers, and which their state senate passed a law outlawing lawmakers from voting for sanctuary cities or votes against sanctuary cities, or what I'm saying, anything to do with the immigration and all that stuff. They'll get arrested, and it's classified as a felony.
Wow. Wow. Lots of
Crazy, right?
yeah, lots of changes underway.
So he states, and I say I'm talking about Tennessee Brando. He states that Tennessee is pretty much being used as the experimental grounds for Project 2025.
Really? That does not surprise
Yes.
me at all.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all neither, because Tennessee, their brains is frozen. So
Yeah. Does not surprise me at all. But it's interesting to see how it's being pushed, you know?
yes. And then, okay, so another thing, I'm starting to believe that we're living in the Confederate States of America because, and the reason why I say this, they changed Fort Bragg, and I never knew Fort Bragg, and Fort Bragg was down the road from me when I was stationed in North Carolina. So I never knew that Fort Bragg was named after a Confederate general, like a lot of Southern bases is, right? A lot of
Mm,
Army bases are named after Confederate generals, and I never really knew that. So they changed it from Fort Bragg to Fort Freedom, I believe,
okay.
or it's either Fort Liberty or Fort Freedom. Okay, so they changed the name. A few years ago, 2022, I think they changed the name officially. Don't you? No surprise at all. Guess what they changed it back to?
What to what?
Fort Bragg. They changed it back to Fort Bragg. The military base didn't do it because the Department of the Army was trying to make right? Because anything Confederate is pretty much treasonous. So this treasonous administration changes it back to Fort Bragg.
Does not surprise me.
Does not surprise me. Does it upset me? Yes, because all the names of these bases is going to be changed back to Confederate bases. So
It's,
I'm starting to believe that the America that I fought for is about to no longer exist, and it's going to be the United States, the Confederate States of America.
I mean, we have a horrible way of handling history here. When you look at Germany and some of the atrocities that happened there, right? They
Yes,
don't, they, you put those artifacts in a museum. That way you have people who can explain what happened. You don't go out putting statues up. You don't go out naming streets after. You don't go out and name military bases after the Confederacy who lost
and who was traitors.
and were traitors. And this was a horrible period of American history, and they were the losers, right?
And I
This is
think that was right, and that was President Lincoln's fatal flaw, I believe, allowing them to come back in as brothers versus, court-martialing the generals, arresting the Confederate leaders and everybody that served in the Confederate Army. He should have done that versus bringing them back in open arms. Because when he brought them back in open arms, they came back with the same mentality, but realized they're going to lose. But they
I
still
mean,
had the same mentality and attitude.
there are people right now who act as if the Civil War happened yesterday. They still act like all these hundreds of years later, right? They still
Yes,
act like that this is like, I mean, it's totally backwards.
it is.
They lost.
It is. That's the crazy part about it. That's the crazy part about it. So when I start, like when I see these things, I'm like, yeah, I remember in 2003 that I fought for the United States of America. I don't remember fighting for the Confederate States of America.
Right.
And then you already know, you already know the Latinos. And last thing, I saw a video of the Arabs saying that one guy was like, F Kamala, F her, da da da, right? All
Hmm.
of a sudden he's on video talking about, yeah, we need to come together, all the minorities, and we need to ban like, well, that F around to find out clips. I'm like, no,
Yeah, I saw that. He can
no.
save all of that. He can
You
save
could
it.
say exactly. For all I care, you could get deported.
Yeah, we don't want to hear it.
Don't
Now
want to
it's on
hear it, bro.
now he wants to be kumbaya, right? Come
Yes.
together.
And a few others, Kamala, she wasn't trying to end the war. Remember we spoke on this, how they wanted them to just snap of a finger end the war. And what I said that our very first one, you want the United States president to help your people in a country they have no jurisdiction over, but you won't go and fight for your own country that you originate from. I can't feel sorry for you and what you got, your angst and your stuff that you got going on. I don't feel sorry. I do not. Do not. Because they are deporting those type of people as well.
Right. They are deporting. They are deporting them. Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're sending them back to India, Pakistan as well.
I mean, a lot of them can't vote, but some can. But this is what happens when you vote against your own self interest. This is what happens.
Yes, and some of them are the ones who are voting don't educate themselves on U.S. politics. They do not take the time to study U.S. politics, to study U.S. history. They just come over here on lies, and then when they get their citizenship, they still remember I said they still have that mentality of their old country and culture, and that damages democracy. If you do not understand what is going on, what is in play, and you're crying about, oh, I got fooled, then who's the uneducated sucker? Because we are educated on all levels. Just like, okay, let me another situation here. The Cubans, oh, some of them is in deep water, right? A
Hmm.
lot of them came over here seeking political asylum, not just Cubans, that's Venezuelans too, right?
Right.
And this is what they're looking into right now. How many of you came over here on a political asylum and you went back home to visit your home country?
Right.
If you're supposed to be a political asylist, or whatever the word will go to, right? If you are a person seeking political asylum, that means if I see you back in my home, if I'm the person trying to kill you, and I see you back in our home country, and I don't kill you, that means your life was never in danger.
Right.
That means you
Right.
came over here on false pretenses. Oh, well, we did vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, you did, didn't you? So guess
Mhm.
what? Your citizenship is about to be revoked. Peace, homie.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you aren't really in the danger that you said you were in.
And this, yep, and this is me saying this, Democrat or Republican, peace. Because at the end of the day, you came over here with your lying ass and thieving ways and thinking that you can sit here and still help steal election. That's where you're the thief at. You help a man steal election. And then you lied about your intentions of coming here. And then when you get called up, you effed around and you found out what it means to lie and what it means to go back, because now you don't have that U.S. Passport. You're not going to have that U.S. Permanent resident alien card anymore. You're going to go back to your home country where you were suffering, and when you had a chance and opportunity to do the right thing and do the right things by understanding United States politics. And because you're so ignorant to do that, and because you so think you're so slick to go back on these vacations trying to flaunt like you big boss, because you're going to have a high ass fucking, I'm sure the US dollar exchange to Cuban was it dineros? What is it? Cuban what?
Uh,
Rubles?
it's Cuban pesos, but remember
Pesos.
the Cuban government uh does not recognize USD. And because of the Cuban embargo that's been in place for almost like what 50 years or so, maybe
Yes.
a little bit more, you have to what you have to do is when you have your money, you have to
Mm-hmm.
get it exchanged at the airport, right? So there is that part. But like I have to get it exchanged. I've been to Cuba 3 times. So you have to get it
Okay.
exchanged at the airport or like a bank, right? They will take it. But I cannot go and pay for the most part for goods and services with
With US
my
dollars.
US debit card. I can pay with euros. So I can pay with euros, no problem. I
Mm-hmm.
also cannot get a Western Union from because of the embargo. I can't
Mm-hmm.
do money transfer. I They even will restrict you from going online to purchase anything. You can't do it. So it's very prohibitive.
Well, whatever the situation is, that's what they're going back to.
Yeah.
And it's just like having a mentality. So let's just say they even went down there with 200 US dollars and whatever it transfers into, it's still a
Yeah.
lot of money than the pesos, than the Cuban pesos.
Right.
So if they're down there flaunting and flexing and you're supposed to be a refugee, you don't belong. That's where you belong.
Yeah, it's playing both sides against the middle pretty much.
Yes, and
Good.
that's where now you're going to see the internet basically really clowning them. Because I saw the videos of them getting clowned, and I was laughing at it, and I'm just like, hey, your ignorance is your stupidity.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, on that note, I need to
Yes,
run.
you,
Stay tuned for the next episode of Today in Black America, where we tackle politics, pop culture, right? A variety of
yes,
topics.
man, we didn't even pop, we didn't even touch pop culture today, but
We did not.
please, please, if you like our show, if you like this content, you know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe to either IMU Lounge or Tanisha Mercer's YouTube page. What's your YouTube page,
It
Tanisha? So they,
Yeah, it's at Tanisha Mercer. So yep, and subscribe. We talk about
all right.
Paris and Black women living and traveling abroad.
I deal with music, independent artists, and I do post some political stuff, but I don't really go into detail. She's the only one that went into detail on my political and this thing. So my page is mostly about music and entertainment. Um, but be sure to give us both a like and subscribe, okay? Because we've merged together like Voltron. If you
Mhm.
like to come on our show and have a discussion with us, feel free to, long as you're not MAGA. We're open to you. If you're a independent who leans towards Democrats, we're open to you. But outside of that,
Right.
uh-uh.
Right. Right. Next time we'll put our YouTube handles in the description so folks can just check us out and subscribe to our channels, right? That's what we'll do.
Yes,
So
yes. And we'll see you on mañana.
we'll see you next time. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye.